What's up, fight world? This is DROD'S MMA and Boxing coming at you with another one. Yo, normally I do videos about MMA and boxing, but today I decided to do something on jiu-jitsu because we got one of the greatest matches in modern jiu-jitsu history, which is Gordon Ryan versus Felipe Pena. Now, we've had so many great matches, but not to this magnitude, considering the fact that we've had social media to hype up these two athletes and make them larger than life, especially their rivalry. Now, let's talk about this match. Now, this match, I hear a lot of people saying that Gordon's going to kill Felipe, that Felipe didn't have a chance, and, you know, Gordon's on a different level. So this video is just to address those type of comments. Now, number one, I think we all got to give Felipe his due respect. Listen, this man is a multiple-time world champion. He won the ADCC. He not only beat Gordon twice, but one thing that people do not give him credit for was that he actually beat Marcus Buchecha and Gordon Ryan on the same day. That is an incredible feat when you think about it. When you had two of the best athletes in jiu-jitsu at that very moment, and Felipe was able to go and beat them. He submitted Buchecha, and he would have defeated Gordon, but he took the back, got the points, and he just, you know, that was, I don't blame him. Like, listen, I would be celebrating at that point. Just to win the absolute division is a tough match. Now, for those of you guys who don't know anything about jiu-jitsu, we have a tournament called the Abu Dhabi Championship. It started in 1998. It's like the Olympics of grappling every 2 years. The best in the world qualify to compete against each other. They got to qualify just like they do in the World Cup and just like they do in the Olympics. And they come against they've come up against each other. So there's any type of styles from, you can have any type of styles from sambo, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, judo, whatever it is. Be willing to showcase your grappling style. Now, Felipe Pena won this match. He's been in the finals multiple times, but he won it by defeating Gordon Ryan. Now, Gordon Ryan is a top tier athlete. He is pretty much the American unsung hero, basically, because for years America has been waiting to see a top guy come from to dominate the sport, as you know, typically Americans dominate sports, period. And we just haven't had that type of guy. Keenan Cornelius was supposed to be that guy, but he just wasn't able to put all the things together. We had Gary Tony. We had so many guys that were supposed to be that guy. Now, Gordon Ryan has embodied that, and he's also been able to produce haters because of his smack talking. Now, he's been able to get inside people's heads. His hype has become a distraction to his skill level. You know, a lot of people focus more on the smack talking and all the other stuff than they do his actual skill level. Gordon is very skilled, probably one of the best skilled fighters we've seen in this time, because he's able to put together footlocks. He's able to show that he has defense. He can get out of tough position. He has a great guard. He has a great top game. He has a great understanding and awareness of his position and where he's at. He is a top tier level fighter, and I give him credit for that. Now, as far as him going in there and destroying and demolishing Felipe Pena, is going to be a tougher fight because Felipe is a world-class athlete, and if Gordon makes a simple mistake, he can easily get caught like he did in 2019, have his back taken, or he can make a mistake and get caught into one of Felipe Pena's crazy submissions like a guillotine. Felipe Pena can make you pay if you sleep on him. The only thing, my only issue with Felipe is this, is that I've seen Felipe throughout the years. He has not improved on a few things. His wrestling is still subpar, and that's been a big thing for a couple years now. He has not improved his Andre Galvao proved that at the previous ADCC, where he was able to really dominate and dictate to Felipe Pena where the match was going to go. He was able to stay on top, and he really did take Felipe Pena's heart and soul, I felt, in that match. As far as Gordon Ryan, I think Gordon Ryan's wrestling has surpassed Felipe Pena. But as far as Gordon being a different fighter, I don't think he's. I think he's the same type of fighter. If you go back and you watch his previous matches, for example, against Sanji Rivera, you would see he still tried to use the floating pass. You would see against Homolo, he used his body-like pass. All of these things he have sold on his own instructional DVDs. His passing game is still the same. His wrestle-ups from the butterfly guards are still the same. His foot locks are still the same. Everything about Gordon is still the same. The only big difference is that Gordon is a lot stronger and a lot bigger than he was. And when he was at 88 kilograms, he had great skill, he had everything, but he was unable to submit guys like Sanji Rivera. Sanjay not only was a very skilled athlete, you got to give him credit. Not only did he understand position and he understand defense, because he came out of that same system that Gordon came out of, which is the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu system, which teaches positional awareness and defense and energy efficiency. A lot of jiu-jitsu guys have a hard time competing in submission and grappling because, number one, they practice points and they don't practice self-defense. They don't practice getting out of a mount. They don't practice getting out of back control. They don't practice defense. Number two, situational awareness, positions. You know, you see a lot of guys giving up their back because they don't want to get swept or they don't want to be on their back. And so, you know, Sanji came out that system, the same system as Gary Tonin and Gordon Ryan, where they were very comfortable being on their backs. They're very comfortable being in a standing position. They're very comfortable with wherever the match goes. And that's where Gordon excels, because a lot of these guys are not trained in those areas. You have guys like Pedro Moreno, the guy who Gordon just embarrassed a couple weeks ago. Pedro has a great stand-up game, but on his back, he doesn't have a game. So Gordon was able to exploit that and demonstrate his jiu-jitsu from that perspective. My thing is this, that a lot of jiu-jitsu guys, instead of learning from Gordon and learning from the Danaher squad and improving in jiu-jitsu, they're spending a lot of time hating on Gordon Ryan. Gordon Ryan is showing people what jiu-jitsu is supposed to look like. Whereas some guys spend most of their time trying to develop their wrestling game, Gordon is actually showing you how to incorporate wrestling in your jiu-jitsu and make it a complete art. I give him a slight edge over Felipe Pena is because Danaher is Bobby Fischer of jiu-jitsu right now. He's been in there with in the video rooms with Renzo Gracie and George St. Pierre and Matt Sierra. He knows how to plan. So when he approaches matches from a methodical standpoint. He looks at tapes and he prepares his fighters for particular situations. Whereas today, a lot of jiu-jitsu guys treat it as though it's a hobby. They come in, they train, they spar. They come in, they train, they spar. They don't necessarily practice on an actual thing. Like, you know, for example, if I was going up against Gordon, I would know that two things I need to practice: getting out the back mount and getting out the mount. These guys don't practice that. I have to know how to practice. I need to be able to defend against his floating pass. What do I do if he put his pressure on me? These are the type of things that a lot of guys do not practice. But I'm telling you right now, they saw the videotape of him, Felipe Pena, being defeated by Tex Johnson. And I'm telling you right now that there was a strategy prepared for Felipe Pena's 50-50 guard. And so I'm saying this because I believe Felipe Pena still has what it takes to beat Gordon. I'm not going to say Gordon is going to go in there and demolish and destroy him, but I do give Gordon a slight edge. Number one, Felipe Pena has not been doing much in the no-gi world in a long time. Number two, there's a lot of momentum going with Gordon. He has been competing in the no-gi world and he has been looking superb. Number three, Felipe Pena looked gassed, like he gassed against Wagner. So now you're talking about a time limit match, a no time limit match against a strong Gordon Ryan. I think that's a strategy. I think it's a mistake on his part, personally. And so as far as Gordon being a different animal, Gordon's the same animal. He's just a lot stronger and a lot bigger. And he's alluded to it in his matches. He's in his previous interview. He knows that once they get chest to chest, it's not going to be the same. So in other words, he knows that he's a lot stronger than he was before. He's a lot bigger than he was before. I know he's going to weigh in at 215, but I believe that's more of Gordon cutting weight. And I believe Gordon is more like 225. So in other words, so I think this is going to be a great, exciting match while it lasts. I hate the fact that there's no time limits. I don't like no time limit matches. I think people need to give respect to Felipe because Felipe is a world champion, and he's an ADCC champion, and he defeated Marcus Busacia and Gordon Ryan on the same night. Now, as far as him improving and tightening up his game, he mentioned in his flow grappling that he realized that his game need to be tightened. So he knows that his game is not as tight. What makes Felipe dangerous is that he's able to scramble. His scrambling game. If Gordon makes a mistake and starts scrambling with Felipe, then he gives Felipe a better chance of winning. If Gordon makes some mistakes and let Felipe get him in a nice submission, then he risks losing that match. It's not a run away for Gordon. I think for Gordon, the biggest thing is he's going to have to wait to tire Felipe out. Once Felipe get tired, and if Gordon still have energy in the tank, he will be able to do something himself. This is my opinion. Like I said, I don't believe that it's going to be a runaway. I give it a 50-50 match. And, Gordon's strategy is very clear. He wants to get chest to chest, and he still has his leg locks as a in his back pocket. But clearly he's telling you what he wants to do. He wants to get chest to chest, meaning he wants to get Felipe on the ground. So I think that personally, this is how I see the match going. Gordon's going to wrestle Felipe down. He's going to get Felipe to the ground. He's going to put a lot of pressure on Felipe's legs. When Felipe gets tired, he feels Felipe getting weak. Then he's going to go chest to chest, meaning he's going to go for head-arm control from a half guard position. And then he's going to try to get to the mount. And that's where he's going to try to tire Felipe out and go for his submissions. That's his strategy. It could work. Now, it can go against him if he's so stuck on doing that one particular thing, and Felipe is able to capitalize on that or frustrate him by not allowing him to get in his positions. I don't know. It all depends on Felipe's preparation. Like I said, Danaher prepares, and he's strategic in his preparation. The rest of the jiu-jitsu world does not prepare like they're preparing for a world title fight. And that's the big difference. This is DROD'S MMA and Boxing. Please hit the like button, subscribe. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you think that I'm wrong. If you think that Felipe Pena has no chance at all, please let me know. Deuces.